How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another DYAD in the Force video. We got this comment from Reckless Recluse. I do not want Ben Solo to become a Force ghost. I don't want him to be tethered to Rey as nothing more than a ghost. I do not want his story to be used to flesh out Anakin's story. I am tired of Ben Solo just repeating what Anakin did. He should have his own path. Anakin had a redemption in death. Ben Solo should get a living redemption. I want the hunt for Ben Solo to work on multiple levels. I think he could have a metaphysical journey to find himself guided by Luke and Anakin in the world between worlds, ending in him returning to the world of the living in the end, perhaps through the power of the Dyad. Then we could have a sort of race between Rey and people who want to harm Ben, each trying to locate him first. I'm flexible about how Ben Solo returns alive, but he must return alive. Woo!
Okay, no,
that's a beefy one.
That's spicy. I mean, both of my examples were basically existing like Ben Solo in his mind or in the Force or whatever. So, I mean, it's a great point. Like, if you really want to see Ben doing Ben things, by the way, we can't always just do death redemptions, and I
Yes.
get it. It's difficult because he's a war criminal and like he would be arrested forever. So I don't know, what do you think?
The first thing I will say also, kind of adding on to your point, my theory also kind of, it leaves things open-ended. I said that, they go to Gazian and that ocean that kind of like imprints on people's memories. And that's how kind of Ben comes back to life. Whether he's stuck there or something, that was kind of open to interpretation. But I do agree that we shouldn't always kind of fall back on this redemption through death kind of thing, because we often leave behind this very unanswered pathway of what kind of light did they return to if that potential was snuffed out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of impact does that person's return to the light have if it is just ending right then and there? We also kind of have to make a distinction between redemption and absolution, because in no way, shape, or form did Anakin or Ben obtain absolution for anything that they did while they were on the dark side. In terms of Star Wars, redemption has always kind of symbolized their return to the light. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people will kind of take those statements and say that either Anakin or Ben doesn't deserve redemption, or rather death is a quick and lazy redemption. But yeah, that's where sort of the narrative goes with me. If Ben Solo comes back, how does he atone? And you kind of have to have that lingering question of whether or not he's ever forgiven. And I'd say, for the most part, with the stories that I have experience with, Rurouni Kenshin, if you know, he kind of lives his life trying to atone, and we never truly get the answer of whether or not people forgive him for his time as a manslayer. But those around him, his newfound family, all love him for who he is and how he lives his life, like in the present, atoning for that stuff. So we could see a story where Ben does come back and he has a chance to kind of atone for everything that he's done, but within his kind of bubble. And then there are still people out in the galaxy that just really hate him and don't forgive him at all.
Yeah, I mean, well, first I do want to say I don't even as is, I don't think he's repeating Anakin's mistakes.
Yeah.
I think he has the exact opposite story, but yeah, I would like to see him. It could be interesting to see him live, and if I'm just throwing it out there, I'm just spitballing. I'm gonna have. I'm still gonna have him come back, but at the end of the Rey movie, and then that's what leads into a Ben movie. And during the Rey movie, we find out that the Sith are destroyed, but there are some type of dark side cultists and they have found basically the big chunk of crystal that was being used to create the Star Destroyers, or at least where that's from. You know, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're trying to detonate it as a big bomb of hate or whatever. Um,
It's a
but we
thought
would have
bomb, but it's
Ray.
a THOT instead.
But we have Ray being willing to sacrifice herself in order to purify it, right? And we can have a journey kind of like when Luke first purifies a crystal, and where we end up after she purifies it is going to be a throwback to the mirror cave, and but the reflection will be Ben, and he will be able to come out of it because this is like it's almost like a spiritual awakening, like almost like this crystal is a connection through the world between worlds. After you've purified and re-given this giant crystal, it's essentially life back, because kyber crystals are able to amplify energy. And so I'm thinking, if she's pouring her life energy into it, it might be able to amplify that. And so instead of losing her life, she might be able to gain one.
Interesting.
Um, so something like that. But I'm just, this is off the top of the dome, all right? So don't be mad at me if it's stupid. Anyways, um, but yeah, for the rest of it, am thinking like Verona Kenshin. You know, he has to change his name. He has to change everything. You know, but if you think about it, there's no one really left that truly, there's no Skywalkers left, other than him. And again, he's not going to be able to atone for what he did. And so unless we want a movie where it's to the Nuremberg trials with Ben, we have to have him, roaming around doing whatever he can to help, and maybe he thinks that the greatest boon to the galaxy that he could do is to try to restart the Jedi Order that he tried so hard to end. And maybe
Yeah.
he does go around righting wrongs and helping out force sensitive kids and pointing people, Ray has this school and she keeps getting kids and maybe she doesn't quite know where they're coming from.
Ooh,
Um
I like that.
Again, I I wouldn't put them together just because
The
I'm a
Raylos
terrible
aren't
person.
going to like that at all. But no, I actually kind of do like that if they do bring back Ben, um, that they're not exactly kind of like aware of each other or together in that way, like right off of the rip. I think essentially it comes down to we keep on saying this because it is such a fascinating narrative in media. We keep on coming back to Rurouni Kenshin. I think it comes down to what can Ben do to for himself atone for what he's done, and he lives inside that bubble and he just lives to right wrongs and do the right thing, knowing or assuming that he will never be forgiven. Right? It's just all
I
about
mean,
doing it for him.
you think about what he says to Ray in the last movie where he's like, I can't go back to her. You can't go back to her just like I can't. Right?
Yeah.
He doesn't feel like he can go back to his mom. Obviously his mom forgives him, but we know that he carries that type of guilt with him still. And so hear me out. Ray is going to be focused on just restarting the school. Um the Falcon goes back to Chewie, and it's Chewie and Ben just traveling the galaxy. And we get to see him come to terms with, like, no, he is just like his father, but he's also like a Jedi and he's trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And to Chewbacca, that's just like, when your pet has a puppy, right? You keep the puppy. That's all it is to Chewbacca, and we could even get some of the history that was taken out of the movie of, the memories of, Chewbacca teaching him how to shoot and how to ride a speeder and all that stuff.
If you want a look at the narrative we're talking about, and if you are interested in quite possibly seeing some kind of facsimile of what we're talking about, it exists, and we keep on referencing it. They have live action movies for Rurouni Kenshin, and it's a brilliant narrative because this guy throughout history was responsible for thousands and thousands of deaths, and the story follows him as he lives in the present day era of that time, with a sword that can't kill, and he lives with the mantra that he will never kill again. And there are people that know who he is and that hold grudges against him and have never forgiven him. And there are monsters that were created because of what he did during the wars. And so I highly recommend watching, if you haven't watched the Kenshin movies, watch those, because I think it gives a really nice appetizer, or kind of like a teaser, or whets your appetite for what we're talking about in terms of what Ben's story could look like.
Also, let us know in the comments, like, if you have a pitch, we want to hear it. So let us know, throw them out here, and if we get enough, then let's do a video like talking about everyone's pitch and ranking them or something.
Ooh, yeah. We'll do like a tier list of pitches. Yeah. Anyways, that'll do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for your comments. Thank you to Recluse for leaving that comment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any videos. Tune in to Fridays, 5 p.m. Pacific, for our live show, DYAD in the Force. Choco, what did we learn today?
Ben Solo is best served alive. I'm sorry.
See you guys next time.